now that I finally got the preview up. Let's do a news of the day kind of thing, and we'll see which coach gets canned in between now and the start of tonight's games, I guess. All kidding aside, this was not just Peter DeBoer being out for San Jose. No, this was a house cleaning by the Sharks and Doug Wilson. This is also a warning to the players of, okay, we've changed the coaching. Next up, it's you guys. So he's out, Peter DeBoer, and the assistant coaches Steve Spott, Dave Barr are out as well. Goaltending coach Johan Hedberg is out, and it's too bad for Hedberg. But at the same time, when you look at the goaltending numbers, I can understand why a general manager would say, okay, well, we got to make a change. Bugner will now be the head coach. And it's got me wondering, too, like, there are other situations where guys get hired as assistant coach, and I'm thinking, he's got a lot of experience as a head coach in the NHL. And now we've seen a couple of them take over, where Bugner's taken over in San Jose. Rick Bowness has taken over in Dallas. It's nice to have an assistant coach that has experience as a coach in the NHL. Basically, just, we're going to get rid of him. Here, you take the clipboard. You've done this before, right? I would imagine as a head coach, it's disconcerting too. I don't know that they necessarily would look over their shoulder too much, but you'd have to think a little bit during a losing streak. Like, he's done this before. He's had my job. He'd like to have my job. He's my friend, but he'd like to have my job. Summer is going to be the associate head coach. Mike Ricci will be the assistant, and Evgeny Nabokov is the goaltending coach. So Nabokov now gets a chance to be the goaltending coach. So for Sharks fans who've missed him, he is your goalie coach now. And tonight will be game number 1600 for Joe Thornton. Let us not lose sight of that. So even though the font, the color I used for that is orange, so it's hard to pick up on the camera. Game 1600 for Joe Thornton tonight, and he gets to come in to game 1600 wondering what the heck's going to happen tonight. It's going to be an interesting one. So for San Jose, it is a complete house cleaning. Now for the Capitals, where we're not going to see any kind of house cleaning, John Carlson now has 45 points. He got to that mark in 33 games. He is the fastest defenseman to get to that mark since Al MacInnis did it in 1991, when it took him 32 games. And Al MacInnis did reach the 100-point mark in his career. He is one of those few defensemen. And so Carlson is in pretty illustrious territory when it comes to defensemen right now. He is being mentioned alongside some of the greats. And it is no wonder that we're not just talking about if. He's going to win the Norris. So John Carlson coming into this year after a couple of pretty darn good years as well, where he may have felt overlooked. He's decided, no, I'm just going to take it. If I score all the points, then they can't give it to anybody else. I'm just going to I'll score all the points. That's what I'm going to do today. All the points are mine, and every game going forward. And that's what he's doing. Emil Bemstrom of the Columbus Blue Jackets will be out 6 to 8 weeks with a dislocated rib and broken cartilage. That sounds exceedingly painful. Really painful. That doesn't sound like a fun time. So Bemstrom out 6 to 8 weeks, and that hurts him. I thought he was playing pretty well, rookie season and all. Hopefully that doesn't hurt his development. Speaking of injury news, St. Louis will have Sundqvist back tonight, so that's good news for the Blues and bad news for everybody else. Sundqvist, who scores, gets assists this year, he's definitely stepped up offensively. Oh, and he hits everything that moves. We can have the debate about whether or not those hits are always clean, but he does do a little bit of everything, and St. Louis will be glad to see him back. One player I'm going to be interested to see how he's affected when the team gets healthy is Troy Brouwer. Does Brouwer stick around, or do they say thanks, but you're gone? Now, you came in as an emergency replacement. Good job. Thank you so much for helping. Or does he find himself on the outside looking in? So, Sundqvist back tonight. We'll see what that does for St. Louis. Detroit. You know what hurts Detroit, too, is that Math is hurt. Athanasiou's missed the last couple of games, and now Larkin may miss tonight's game with an illness. So Zadina's been recalled again, and McElrath's been recalled again. And I thought they played their last game. I lose track of who's in and out of the lineup for Detroit, and for a lot of teams right now, because it feels like a lot of guys are getting hurt all around the league. And for Detroit, whatever, if it's the flu for Larkin, you just worry about it spreading around the rest of the locker room. But for Larkin, may need a night off anyways. It's been a miserable run for Detroit. Really, really has. And it's got to come to an end at some point. Now, news also is coming out. Ian McIntyre is reporting that Benning is seeking a top 6 forward for the Canucks. We knew that. We knew that during the summer. When he picked up JT Miller, Miller's been fantastic. So I still agree with that trade, and I know people are going to, roast me for it, and that's fine. JT Miller's been exactly what this team needed at forward, and there wasn't any other way to get it. And this is a team that needs to make some progress. They need to show that they're getting to where they want to be. And it's one player at a time. Now, I think before the season started, I think there were some plans to have Ferland potentially on that top line. Apparently, and McIntyre's reported this a few times, that Ferland was sold on the idea that he'd get a chance to play with Pettersson. It hasn't really worked out. And if that was the idea, then that's wrong. I like him as a top 9 forward, him being Ferland. I'm not sold on him being on the top line. So, for the Canucks right now, if they're looking for a top 6 forward, I don't disagree with that. But if it's because they envision Ferland being a top 6 forward, that bothers me, because I don't see Ferland as being that guy. Again, I thought third line, if he can provide some energy and some hits, great. That's the kind of sandpaper they haven't had. But, yeah, top 6 forward, I don't think there's a lot of teams giving away forwards. Keep in mind, Buffalo, it's been known for a while that Buffalo is looking to beef up their depth at forward, and they have depth on the blue line that they could trade for some depth up front. They haven't been able to find anything. The trade market seems to be kind of quiet and dry right now. So despite all of the talk of where Hall's going to go, what Hall's going to get, who's going to trade for Hall, there really isn't a lot of actual real evidence that there's any kind of legitimate trade talks going on. By legitimate, I mean that you actually see two GMs sitting down and hammering it out, where it's not just one talking to the other, saying, well, all right, we'll offer you this, and the other GM going, I'm not really interested. Thanks, though. That seems to be where we're at right now, is that it's been well, thanks, but that doesn't work for us. So we'll see what happens with Benning's search for a top 6 forward. I'm always reminded of Chris Higgins is available. We know Chris Higgins is available. We're well aware Chris Higgins is available. There are times where Benning will put things out to the press hoping for a phone call, I believe, and maybe this is one of those times. So we'll see. Now, something else that's come out of the Board of Governors meeting, and it's been talked about with Gary Bettman, who's going into the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame today as well. So I'm sure there's a lot of people just clamoring to see him go into the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. 2022 Olympics. It's not resolved. So the NHL doesn't want to go. And there are a lot of reasons the NHL doesn't want to go. They don't want to shut down the schedule for 2+ weeks. They view it as being very disruptive to their schedule. And costs. It costs the NHL money to do this. The Olympics are not this wonderful society of nice, wonderful people. I know there were a lot of stories that came out of Vancouver with the Olympics, and just the way that they treated some local businesses, and just they're kind of jerks in some ways. And one way that they're kind of jerks is, okay, you're going to send NHL players over to play in the Olympics? Thanks. You want to promote that NHL players are playing in the Olympics? No. You want to make some money off of your players while they're in the Olympics? No, you can't do that. No, we will promote, we will make the money. That is ours. You have the joy of providing your best players for our tournament. And if they get hurt, it's too bad. But all of these hundreds of millions of dollars in salary, we'll take care of it. And by the way, you got to pay for everything because we're not paying for it. And that's kind of how it's worked. And the NHL's going, no. So this isn't just a ploy to shake down the NHLPA. And I know it's been played that way sometimes. It really isn't. This is the NHL saying this doesn't work for us. Now, for players, they're saying it's a great way to promote the game. And they're right. It is a great way to promote the game. Where the NHL might come at it is, yeah, but we're 20 years into Olympic participation, and it hasn't really increased the profile of hockey in non-hockey nations. So there are arguments to be made on both sides of this, and we'll see what happens with the 2022 Olympics. I'm thinking they don't go. I don't see them going. Although the NHL has played a game or two here and there in China. And so the idea of going to Beijing might be more attractive to them than they're letting on. Because if you can go over to Beijing, if you can find a way, and again, this may be the right to promote it. This may be Bettman saying, okay, well, we want the right to promote our players and do something in China during the Olympics to kind of grow interest in hockey. And the Olympics are like, no, this is our show. This is our show, and thanks for providing your players, but it's still our show. Either way, I know people want to see players in the Olympics in 2022. I want to see it. I want to do live streams in the middle of the night for Olympic hockey. I think that would be tremendous fun, but we're still a ways out from seeing whether or not it's going to happen. I would think it'll be about a year from now, and about a year from now, the NHL will say 100% definitely going or not going, because you have to get into scheduling, and it gets kind of tricky from there. The other thing I'm wondering is with Seattle coming in 2021, it might be better to go for that reason. And Vegas fans haven't had a chance to see hockey players at the Olympics and see Vegas Golden Knights players wearing their teams or their country's jerseys for the Olympics. There are many ways to look at this, and I can understand why players want to go. I can understand why it would help, and I can understand why the NHL would say it doesn't justify the cost and the potential risks of a player getting hurt. What if you go over there and you're playing and then Crosby gets hurt? Malkin gets hurt. If you're a Buffalo fan, you're watching, this is a great game. What do you mean Eichel got hurt? Oh, Dahlin got hurt? And then coming out of the Olympics, you might be down some key players. So there are assurances the NHL would want out of this they haven't got, and the NHLPA is going to continue to discuss it with them because the players want to go. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.